Hello and welcome back to the channel. So this episode is the introduction to the book. I'm just going to go over the highlights of that and just give you some thoughts about how I came to writing the book and what it's meant to me to be able to do that. In April 2024, I updated the book. All right, I'm passionate about people keeping their homes if they can. So I don't think you should do anything that harms you in that process either. Okay, so there are certain things that I've seen people do that I'm not sure it's best for them in the long run, at least how I think about things. All right. So I'm just gonna put it out there that I'm just talking about my opinions, and they are opinions. They're not suggestions or advice, but they are just my opinions and like how I would handle things. Like I said in the previous episode, like I've helped over 1,000 people go through foreclosure. And my goal is to educate you so you can make the best decision for you and your family. So the kind of the main takeaways that I've learned over the last decade helping homeowners are is look, if you can get a great loan, if you can get a loan modification, especially a great loan modification where your interest rates reduced permanently for the length of the loan, you've gotten a reduction on the balance. That is an awesome thing as well. So you're not, yeah, you've actually gotten the loan reduced and modified. That's awesome as well. That is a great place to be, right? Because that can really make the payments way more affordable. You're not, some people took like 5-year low interest rates and they bumped up again. Not sure how they're going to manage that. That's coming due for a lot of people nowadays, or has been coming due for a while. Get a great low modification if you can, and stay in the house if you can. That is the goal. This is your home. I get that. The home, and I'm going to say this over and over again, but the home is also not the house. Okay. The home is the place where you feel safe, where you can rest, where you and your family can gather and not be stressed out. That for me is the definition of home. A house is the physical structure. Okay. The two can be completely two separate things. All right. And I'm going to be talking about both, about what it takes to save your home, which is your family life, if that's important to you, and then also about the physical properties. Three main things. Go for the loan modification. See if you can get a great one. I've got a great chapter on that, and I've got lots of suggestions, and I'll always be talking about a great loan modification. We're also got a course available on stoptheforeclosure.expert. So that's available to you for free. There's no charge for that. You just give us your email and we'll happily send that off to you. So we're not going to spam you. We're not going to like overly chase you down. We need to get it to you. So that's how we do it. And then the second option potentially is just turn your house into a cash machine. You can work with myself and my crew, and we could potentially get you a nice chunk of cash out of your property and monthly cash flow and help create some intergenerational wealth stability for your family. That is a possibility. Just because you're upside down in your house doesn't mean that there aren't ways to actually get cash out of the house. We can perform some miracles in some cases. We can just take a house that's livable. That is a possibility. Okay. So you can always get a house review with us and just see what's possible for you and your family. And then the third is if neither of those two are possible, or if you have a lot of equity, then go ahead and sell your house as fast as possible. If you got 40, 50,000 or more dollars in equity, I would personally sell the house as fast as possible, because what you don't really realize is that even if you stay in the house and let's say your mortgage is, I don't know, 1,500 a month, it's really costing you somewhere between 2,500 to $3,000 a month to stay in your house and your equity. So it gets eaten up really quickly versus basically being able to take that money and kind of start over again. You're just not handing your equity over to the banks and the attorneys when you sell the house. You actually get to put that into your hands and you get to decide what's best for you and your family with it. The other thing is a short sale that might have to happen just because of the condition of the house or being upside down or whatever. I guess the third, really what I want to say about the third was just take action. Okay. What I learned over and over again, especially from talking to real estate agents and people that have been through foreclosures, the ones that actually dealt with the house and either were able to save it, get themselves in a good position to stay in the house, or they sold the house, collected their belongings and their cash and whatever they could and moved on. The ones that dealt with it quicker and got a more permanent solution were the ones that were healthier, happier, wealthier. They ended up making more money. I just speak from personal experiences. The people that really stuck around, fought the banks, were in their house for over 4 years, which is possible. Not, I personally don't recommend that at this point. but they just ended up having a lot more health issues. They were just stressed out all the time. They gotten accustomed to not paying anything to live somewhere. And like their whole life is upside down, really, and on hold. And they're just waiting for the hammer to drop, which is not a great place to live. Just a lot of stress and a lot of health implications for that. The biggest secret I can give you is that your current house is not your home. Okay. I know I talked a little bit about this and I'm going to just repeat about it is that there's a sign at my local bakery. I love this. The sign said, "Home is where love resides, memories are created, friends and family belong, laughter never ends. Home should be the place where you get to rest with the least amount of stress, where your family can gather, you can support each other through the best and the worst of times." And I just wanted you to consider that when what you're up against, right? Sometimes protecting the home and your family is about moving them to a safer place or another location. Some of the times it's like you against the world, like you and your spouse are going to take on everything, or maybe just you yourself. Like if it's your house and you're by yourself, it's like you against the world and you're going to stay no matter what. More power to you. Just find a way to do it that works. Okay. That's what I would do if I was in your situation. Like I said, the people that moved on, that kind of dealt with it faster instead of sticking their head in the sand, they're just better off. The last secret, I just called secrets to keeping your home. The last secret I want to give you is don't make short term decisions that will hurt you in the long run. Some people I heard were using their 401k and their IRAs to get their loan caught up. But this is going to have huge impacts to them in the future. Like they're just never going to get that money back. Most people only stay in their house for 7 years. Even if they get the loan caught up, they're probably going to move within 5 years, maybe 4 years, 7 years. And there are just other options, I think, better than pulling out of your 401k and your IRA and using that money. Because what I don't want to have you happen is you end up putting that money in, you lose the house anyway, and now you don't have retirement and you are working way past where you wanted to be working, and you just don't have the retirement that you wanted. Also, there's 13 different chapters or strategies that you can take as a homeowner. So there's lots of options for you. Okay. Like when I first started this, I had no idea there were 13 different strategies. Okay. I only knew of a few. I didn't even know what a short sale was at the time. I mean, when my house went into foreclosure in 2006, 7, there was no such thing as short sale. That was just not a very common term, even though I was upside down at the house and a real estate agent. I didn't know. So you just got to look at all your options and just see what is going to work best. And just there's just more options than you think, I promise you, because it took me years to find all of these. Okay. And at least they're in one place now for people to come find and look. You don't have to go searching all over the internet and buy books written by attorneys. And I promise you, I will do that reading. And I'm going to talk about it here on this channel and bring it to you and bring in other people to interview to talk about things too. So the other thing is that most people don't realize this either, but it is actually technically illegal to use bankruptcy to delay, hinder, or defraud the bank while on foreclosure. So this is a big one for me. I didn't know this at the time. There's foreclosure or bankruptcy was used a lot to stop foreclosures. Okay. Back in the day. And it was pointed out to me at one point in time that it's actually illegal. It's actually in the bankruptcy code that you cannot use for bankruptcy to delay a foreclosure. So just be aware that that's actually federal law. It may get broken a lot, but it still doesn't make it 100% right. And there can be consequences at some point, but it's there. So I'm just trying to educate you on, how to use that. Now, yes, do I think that there's a maybe once or one or two places where a strategic bankruptcy may make sense? Yes, there's a chapter about that. I go into it. Okay. But for the most part, bankruptcy just delays the inevitable on foreclosure. Usually it stops it for about 3 to 4 months. And then the bank pulls the house out of bankruptcy and forecloses anyway. So it's really a short term tactic. It might last longer in some cases, but that's what I had typically seen. And there are lots of risks with bankruptcy, which I'll go into when we get to that chapter. And look, if and when you ever decide to sell your house, I'm not talking even now, let's just say that you are able to get the house payments caught up again. You are able to get a great loan modification, stay in your house, and God bless you. I really hope you can do that. If and when you ever decide to sell your house, or if you need a short sale, how you can support the channel is actually let us make a recommendation to a real estate agent for you. That actually helps out the channel. We can make sure that you get a great real estate agent. I was a former real estate agent. I work with real estate agents. I know how to interview them. I know what to look for, that sort of thing. I guess my one blanket request is that if and when you ever decide to sell your house, just let us know and let us help you out. And that will doesn't cost you any money either, by the way. There's no impact on you, and it just allows you to support this channel and for us to get this information out. And thank you for paying it forward. Okay, so there's an original introduction I wrote too. Like I said, I experienced foreclosure in early 2007, really started in 2006, 2007 as a licensed real estate agent. I just didn't know butt kiss. Like even I had my MBA specializing in real estate and didn't know. Like I educated myself. It took years to get this education and facing foreclosures. Like I said in the introduction, I actually worked with 24 homeowners and sued the banks. I've got lots of experience fighting the banks and putting 3 lawsuits on each house. And yeah, like I did all that. I spent just a ton of and legal fees. You'll probably never have to experience as much as I did because if you own one property, that's what you would do. But anyway, I just want to let you know that even out of those 24 properties, I was completely unsuccessful. Yes, I did it in the hardest state in the country, the one that actually favors the banks the most, which is Georgia, if you're curious. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. But I did help many families go through foreclosure with grace and ease. I did educate them. I said, look, in your situation, this is what I would do. And feel free to go on the website, stoptheforeclosure.expert, and get a house review. And you can talk to me or one of my people there and just tell us what's going on and your situation. And we can say, look, in this case, this is what I would do if I was in your shoes, and maybe give you some more ideas that you hadn't even thought about. Because like I said, there are about 13 different strategies that you can take. There are probably one or two more that are a little bit more out there as well. And I will be talking about those, especially as I come across stuff. Because one thing is that things are always changing. You've got to stay on top of what the banks want when it comes to loan modifications, kind of what the requirements are currently, like those do change on some of the rules. We will talk about all that stuff. My goal is to keep you out of trouble, to give you the options so you can make the best decision for you and your family. So the other thing I want to let you know is that it took me a long time to recover from foreclosure. I thought I was a mentally strong, well-rounded human being and stuff, but it just foreclosure lingers. Okay. And I was sad for a long time. And I thought that I'd really failed and that I felt like a failure, even though that experience was the failure, not me necessarily. I had to take some time to really distinguish the two. And some of it was my fault. Like I can just admit that there may have been some things I could have done differently. Also, circumstances were such that there's just no way to save the house. My business was failing. I was going through a divorce. God, even the dog had passed away. It was just a rough time, and that's the consequences of those things. And now looking back, I know the pain, and I know like I can experience it again. I have empathy and can relate to you going through it. If you hadn't heard the first episode, my nickname for you all is Homeowner Heroes. If you are out fighting for your family and for your home and even for your property, then you are my hero. So I refer to you as my homeowner heroes affectionately. Okay. Let me just be straight with you. If you or your spouse are having any of the following symptoms, like you're sleeping too much or too little, you're not opening the mail for months. Don't lie. I know there's a stack of mail probably by your front door. Okay. That at least happens to most of the people in foreclosure. If you're destructive eating, increased in drinking, having an affair, excessive TV time or time on the computer or apps, if you're becoming increased irritable or you're just less tolerant for normal things, just for life that you normally experience. You lack a sex drive, you're avoiding relationships or responsibility, panic attacks. Oh, I never had panic attacks before until like foreclosures and stuff. It just changes you. It can. I'm not saying for everybody. I'm just saying for some people, it can change you. And just don't be surprised by it. It's a part of the process for some of us. Feelings of choking, upset stomach, having wobbly legs while walking, just an ongoing sense of hopelessness. I'm just going to say that if you have some of those, that you may want to seek professional counseling or maybe go to your church and find if you can if you have a pastor to talk to or a chaplain or just someone that you can confide in potentially if you can't do the professional counseling. Find just local resources to help you. I just know, I just personally know how devastating that foreclosure can be. And having a support group, having this community, I'm going to have a Facebook community where you can talk and ask questions. Feel free to ask questions below on this YouTube channel, or you can go to the website and submit questions at stopforeclosure.expert. All that's available to you, and I'll be answering them on here or the podcast. Yes. Okay. And then for couples, I want to talk about that as well. So look, if here's some warning signs that you just want to maybe pay attention to so that you can stop reacting and start responding to your spouse. That might be something that it takes a little bit of effort, right? To stop the reaction and the bitterness. And so here's just some things that, like, some warning signs. Okay. So if you're just having the same argument over and over again with no resolution, that could be a red flag. Okay. If there's no communication at all, that's not a great sign either. Yes. Or if it's like being with your roommate, but you're not your lover, that's a sign. Just resentment abounds. Just every time either one of you can have resentment against the other one. There's no intimacy. Blaming your partner or spouse that everything is wrong. Snapping at each other all the time. Having contempt for one another. And feeling like the partnership just has dissolved. So, look, this is about secrets to keeping your home. Okay. And if your partner is important to you and they've been there in the past and you've had love, you may want to just stop and get some help. Okay. I just say this for someone that's been in that situation. Mine was before the foreclosure, was a divorce. It's rough. It's not easy. And just to take a moment, to take a breather, maybe get some space and come back and see about what is there for both of you. Okay. And just have an honest conversation about it. And look, if you're beating yourself up about the foreclosure, I'm just going to say stop. Okay. Like, with all due respect, like, some of the circumstances couldn't be helped by you. Okay. Like, you just have, as one of the psychologists said, or therapists said, there are stronger forces at you at play than what's going on. Okay. You can't, it's like being in the ocean and a huge wave comes by and slams you onto the bottom floor of the ocean, right? You happen to be in the ocean. You're just doing your thing. You're not the one that caused that wave to come by and take you out. So same thing with the economy, same thing with housing. There are things that are going on that are out of your control. And I think it's just going to be a challenge. And that's why I really have started this and are really committed to helping homeowners. And then I'm just going to refer probably to the states of Georgia and Florida throughout the book, because they're about as opposite as you can get when it comes to foreclosures. So Georgia is what is known as a non-judicial state, meaning that the banks can foreclose without going to court. All they have to do is post in the newspaper for about 4 weeks, and then they can foreclose and just go on the courthouse steps to do that. And it's called crying out, where they auction off the property. Florida, however, is a judicial state where the bank has to go to court, and it's usually a much longer process, like 6 to 9 months, to go through the court system to foreclose. Also, Florida has most of their auctions online, not in person like Georgia does. So in the world of foreclosures, Georgia and Florida, even though they're next to each other, they share a state line, they're about as opposite as you can get when it comes to foreclosure. Georgia is very much bank oriented and Florida is much more homeowners oriented. If I just refer to a Georgia state versus a Florida state, or kind of like those two things, that's why. Look, the thing I'm also going to this is a recommendation. Learn what your state does. If you go to the blogs on the website, one of the blog 20 or 21 is it's a table of foreclosures, and it lists your state and just the overall general view of what the foreclosure looks like in your state. So educate yourself, know the timelines, get involved with that. Things change. Look, that table is not going to be accurate forever. Some states actually have more than one way to foreclose. Like, the bank gets to choose whether they want to do judicial or they want to do non-judicial. Yeah, that can be possible in just a handful of states as well, but it splits about 50-50. 50 of the states are judicial, like Florida, and 50% of the states are non-judicial, like Georgia. Yeah, you'll just hear that term over and over again. Judicial means the bank has to go to the court to foreclose and file a lawsuit and a lis pendens. And in Georgia, a judicial state or non-judicial state, my correction, A non-judicial state, they just post the notice in the legal paper, and within about 4 weeks, 6 weeks, or whatever it is, they foreclose. Yes. Okay. I'm here for you all. I've been where you've been. You are my heroes. Like I said, my homeowner heroes. Reach out to myself and my team. We're here to be of service to you, to educate you. We're just hoping to empower you to make the best decision for you and your family, whatever that looks like. And yeah, and choose, just learn about the 13 different strategies that you can take while in foreclosure. Okay. Be well, take care of yourself, take care of your family if you have that, take care of your pets. Just, yeah, I know it's a rough time, and we're here for you. All right, take care. Bye bye.